In addition to the simple sharing activity that we just did, there are also ways to do more advanced sharing. It's a little bit more complicated, but it gives us a little bit more capabilities and control over how the sharing actually takes effect. Here we are on our server SA1, and we already have our test vol right here. In test vol, I'm going to right click and say new folder, and we'll create test share 2. Once I have my test share, can go ahead, right click and properties, and we can check the security options right here. And we'll notice that there are not necessarily a lot of security permissions here. We have, for instance, the users group, which has read and execute, read, and then list options. And that's about it. The administrators group has more permissions, including full control. And then the system and creator owner options have permissions as well. If we click the sharing tab, currently it is not shared. And so we can go ahead and click the advanced sharing button. And under the advanced sharing button, we can select share this folder. We're going to go ahead and leave the name as is. That may not be what we want in a production environment, but that will work for now. Here we can specify the permissions, and by default, everybody has read access. In this particular case, we may not want everyone to have read access. So selecting everyone and then clicking remove removes the everyone group from access in our environment. Next, we can click add, and we will type users and say check names. So this is the users group, and say OK. And then we can say add and administrators check names to add the administrators group, administrators, if I spell it correctly, and OK. For the user group, we can select this, and now we can specify what permissions we want: read, change, or full control. I'm going to go ahead and say full control. And then once the users have full control, I will go ahead and select administrators and full control. Even though the administrators are members of the users group will still get different file permissions than they will the administrators group. I'll say OK and OK. And what we will notice now, if I go back to the security tab, is that the security permissions themselves have not changed. So with simple file sharing, it sets up both security and sharing permissions. With advanced security, it only sets up the sharing permissions. Here in the security permissions, we can edit. And then we can add, and we will add our test user. Check names. And OK. And for our test user, now we can go ahead and change permissions, for instance, to allow them to have the right permissions that the other users group won't have. So we'll say OK and close.